It's time now for a look at today's business news with Brian Quinn. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Jeannie.
Now, you're starting with a big day for trade in the U.S. as Donald Trump gets set to sign America's ratification of the new USMCA trade deal.
Indeed, Trump is planning a big signing ceremony at the White House Wednesday for that USMCA. Some 400 guests are on the list. Not invited, however, are several key Democratic lawmakers who helped get the ratification passed. The deal replaces 1994's NAFTA agreement between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada that a frequent target of criticism by Trump. Despite a triumphant tone from him on the deal, it is not a done deal yet. Canada has yet to ratify it and could take months to do so, as Monty Francis reports.
In an order reflected in its very name, Canada is last in line to ratify the new United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which updates the 25-year-old deal known as NAFTA. The deal can't take effect until 90 days after the last party signs, and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who led Canada's negotiating team, is urging her country's parliament to approve the deal without undue delay. U.S. President Donald Trump, who made replacing NAFTA a key campaign promise, is now facing a re-election bid and is eager to celebrate the accomplishment.
We will replace the NAFTA nightmare, one of the worst trade deals ever in history, with the incredible brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA.
There is little doubt that Canada will approve the USMCA, but members of Canada's main opposition Conservative Party say they have reservations. One Conservative lawmaker tweeting, "The Libs do not yet seem to realize the realities of the new minority parliament and are mistaken if they believe that we will rubber stamp the deal." Citing concerns about the impact on Canada's forestry and aluminum industries, lawmakers could slow down the ratifying process by calling witnesses. There is also fierce opposition from the Bloc Québécois, which says the deal would harm Quebec's dairy industry. Facing what's promised to be a thorough debate and review, some political observers say ratifying the deal could take months.
And a big day for Apple yesterday with some record profits in its latest quarter.
That's right. The tech giant says revenues were up 9% to hit nearly $92 billion for the 3 months ending December 28th. Net profit up 11% at $22 billion, with earnings per share hitting a full 19%. With those results smashing expectations and sending Apple's share prices up nearly 2% in after-hours trade. The growth driven especially by strong iPhone sales to the tune of some $56 billion worth. Apple says it expects revenues to rise another 9 to 15% for the current quarter.
Making me regret not having bought Apple stock, Brian. All right, how are the markets looking so far today?
Well, Jeannie, European indexes are still struggling to rebound after the worst sell-off in 3 months over coronavirus fears. Investors taking some comfort in the World Health Organization's view that the ongoing outbreak can be contained. London's FTSE 100 and the Frankfurt DAX hovering up around 1 to 0.2%. CAC 40 here in Paris up around 0.33% at midday. Mainland China markets remained closed Wednesday. Hong Kong Stock Exchange, though, reopening after the Lunar New Year holiday. Its Hang Seng Index took a big hit, ending the session down nearly 3%. Chinese airlines listed there, leading the losses amid some ongoing travel bans. Earlier, France 24 spoke to markets analyst Han Tan about just how long the effects of the virus might be felt on the markets.
I think this is a risk that investors will have to contend with maybe for a few more months. If we use the 2003 SARS outbreak as a guide, that was a 6-month event. So we have seen market sentiment being hit, certainly. Next, we want to see the economic data, and we have the China PMI figures scheduled to be out either later this week if it's not delayed. If there's a marked slowdown in the non-manufacturing sector, the services sector, then that could trigger another bout of risk aversion.
Well, some more of the day's top business headlines we're following for you at this hour. British Airways has suspended all flights to mainland China due to coronavirus fears. Asian low-cost carriers Lion Air and Seoul Air also cutting off service over the outbreak. The virus could represent the biggest threat to the airline industry since 2003's SARS outbreak, which saw passenger demand fall 45% across Asia. Nissan is reportedly planning a major cost-cutting initiative to counter falling sales. Citing company insiders, Reuters says the Japanese automaker is set to cut over 4,300 white-collar jobs worldwide and close 2 plants as an expansionist strategy developed under former chief Carlos Ghosn misses targets worldwide. And French oil giant Total is facing a lawsuit accusing it of inaction on climate change. A group of French towns and NGOs bringing legal action based on a 2017 law requiring French companies to formulate so-called vigilance plans to prevent environmental damage and protect health and human rights. Total says it regrets the lawsuit, calling on cooperation for climate change among stakeholders.
Next, now we'll go to Lagos, Nigeria, where a ban on motorbike taxis has threatened to take a big toll on the economy.
That's right. The city government is trying to outlaw moto taxis known as Okadas and motorized trikes called kekes after a slew of fatal accidents. The ban is set to take effect in just a couple of days. Opponents, though, say it could put the livelihoods of thousands of drivers in peril.
In this sprawling city of 20 million people, for many, it's their main way to get around.
When I want to go to work, sometimes there might be traffic. And this keke and motorcycles are another alternative. They are a fast alternative for me to get to work on time.
In Lagos, Nigeria, these kekes and okadas, as they are known, are everywhere and are a fast way to navigate around the city's notorious gridlock. But starting on February 1st, the state government is imposing a sweeping ban on the motorbike taxis, citing a number of fatal accidents in recent years. For drivers, the ban threatens a key source of income and a way of life often passed down for generations.
Some of our people, they reach 40 years, 30 years, 20 years for a year. And now if they say they ban Okada and they don't get any work where they are doing now.
The unemployment rate in Nigeria is 23%, and government officials have warned it could reach 30% this year. With Okadas, thousands of young men have found a way of making a living. Some worry the ban could have unintended consequences.
It will create another crime for the state. So let them at least benefit a little bit more. Let them create a job for them before they ban those things.
Lagos has tried to ban Okadas before from main roads and bridges, but enforcement was lax. This time, again, may prove a challenge for the government, with so many invested in this way to get around.
All right, for business now to wrap up, we'll come back to France, where the so-called Camembert War could finally be coming to a ceasefire, something like that.
Yes, that line is about as ripe as a ripe
That's a cheese.
camembert. It's a bit cheesy, you might say. The creamy, smelly fromage has been the subject of a ripening conflict for some 3 decades now. Small producers argue that camembert must be made with raw Normandy milk to merit the region's official protected geographical indicator. Meanwhile, industrial producers using cheaper pasteurized milk have borrowed the Normandy region's image without the official designation, that much to the small farmers' indignation. A meeting Wednesday between the two groups is expected to settle the matter with 2 different designations, Camembert de Normandie AOP for the raw milk cheese and Camembert made in Normandy for the pasteurized version. Both likely to smell terrible, Jeannie, but taste delicious.
So if you want the good one, go with the French title. That's the lesson.
AOP.
Thank you for that, Brian.